when F1 teams and drivers fall out. The first 2 weeks of the 2022 summer break produced so much drama it could have been nominated for an Oscar. Get it? But this isn't the first nor last time we get some crazy things going on between drivers and teams. Let's take a look back in history at some of the crazy disputes drivers and teams have had. Jensen Button, Williams and BAR. In terms of F1 contract drama, little comes close to what happened to Jensen Button in 2005. During a breakout season in 2004, scoring a pole and finishing third in the championship behind the runaway Ferraris, Button became pretty hot property. BAR had propelled Button towards the front of F1 and had an option to retain the young Brit. But Williams, who gave Button his first F1 shot in 2000, had other plans. Although BAR's management said Button would be continuing with the team, Williams announced it was also signing him. Does this sound familiar to you? This triggered a lot of legal back and forth over the precise terms of BAR's engine deal with Honda, but it ultimately meant Button had to stay put. Bit awkward, eh? The drama didn't stop there. In 2005, Button signed another deal to return to Williams for 2006. But when the team announced it was splitting with longtime engine partner BMW, Jensen wanted out of that contract too. Complete chaos. Button did end up getting out of his Williams contract for 2006, but only by payment of an estimated eye-watering $20 million. Sergio Perez, Racing Point. Although he's now in a secure seat at Red Bull, the future didn't look quite so bright for Perez back in 2020. After racing with Force India and then known as Racing Point since 2014, everything looked fine and dandy for Perez, who had a contract to continue with the team until 2021. But when Sebastian Vettel lost his seat at Ferrari, everything changed. Racing Point decided to jump at the chance of signing a 4-time world champion to help lead their new Aston Martin project. This essentially signed Sergio Perez's departure, as team owner Lawrence Stroll wasn't exactly going to kick his son out now, was he? Perez managed to pick up an extraordinary win in his final season with the team in Bahrain, and that was enough to convince Christian Horner that Perez deserved a seat next to Max Verstappen for 2021. Kimi Raikkonen, Ferrari and Lotus. In the space of 3 years, Kimi Raikkonen was involved in 2 pretty big contract bust-ups. Despite putting on impressive performances in his time at Ferrari and winning a world title in 2007, which is still the last time Ferrari won one, Ferrari paid Kimi $25 million to not race in F1 in 2010, so they could replace him with Fernando Alonso. The Finn was in talks to rejoin McLaren in the same year, but when that went down the toilet, he decided to take a break and rally for a bit instead before returning to F1 in 2012. That's when even more drama ensued. As part of his deal to return to F1, Lotus owner Gerard Lopez agreed to pay Kimi €50,000 for every point he scored over his 2-year contract with the team. Clearly they were not expecting to perform perhaps as well as they did, because Raikkonen scored a massive 390 points, which included 2 wins and 13 other podiums for the team. But he wasn't paid in 2012 until the end of the year, and then got into a dispute with Lotus, which meant he missed the final 2 races of 2013. With Lotus owing him his €8 million salary plus €9.15 million in bonuses. The deal almost bankrupted Lotus, but to let everyone keep their job, Kimi agreed to not be paid the final €6 million owed to him. What a legend. Nikita Mazepin, Haas. To put it lightly, Mazepin was the walking, talking meme of the grid in 2021. Nevertheless, despite Nikita's flaws, Günther Steiner and Haas decided to re-sign the Russian for 2022. But when Russia invaded Ukraine during the first round of pre-season testing, Haas terminated Mazepin's contract and re-signed a familiar face instead, Kevin Magnussen. Mazepin blamed cancel culture for getting him kicked out of F1, and he's continued to claim that Haas still owe him money after cancelling his contract. Marcus Ericsson, Felipe Nasr, Guido van der Garde and Adrian Sutil. Sauber. It's hard to find a contract mess as big as this one. Back in 2015, Sauber was enduring a period of competitive decline and financial instability. Arriving at the first race in Melbourne, Sauber reportedly had 4 drivers under contract to race 2 cars. Sauber announced Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasr, not to be confused with Massa, this is Nasr, I know, commentary disaster, as its race drivers for the 2015 season. But Adrian Sutil, who was ousted to make way, and Guido van der Garde, who did 7 Friday practice runs for the team in 2014, both claimed they had valid contracts to race. Van der Garde even turned up ready to race in Australia, but ended up taking Sauber to court instead. A settlement was eventually reached and Sauber raced with Ericsson and Nasr throughout 2015. But what a PR disaster. Fernando Alonso, Ferrari. The two-time world champion didn't exactly have the best time at Ferrari. After kicking out Kimi Raikkonen, Alonso came up painfully short in 2 separate world title battles, which were in 2010 and 2012, and it pretty much went downhill from there. Alonso scored only 1 podium finish in the first 10 races of a particularly difficult 2014 season, which meant it wasn't exactly happy families in the Ferrari camp. Although he was under contract until 2016 with rumours of an extension that would keep him at Ferrari until 2019, Alonso decided to look elsewhere. Fernando is the burner of bridges, I tell you. This didn't really sit well with Ferrari, and the two parties decided to part ways at the end of the 2014 season. The funny thing is, the whole time Ferrari was complaining about Alonso's wandering eye and his eventual move to McLaren, they had already been chasing Sebastian Vettel to replace him. Cheeky. Ayrton Senna, Toleman. During an electrifying rookie campaign in a midfield Toleman, it's no surprise that everyone wanted to sign Ayrton Senna in 1984. Although Senna retired from almost half the races in the 1984 season, he never finished lower than 7th when the car actually reached the checkered flag. The Brazilian had signed a deal with Toleman that meant he would remain with the team until 1986, but when Lotus came knocking, Senna didn't hesitate to jump ship. From a legal point of view, everything was pretty much in order. However, the timing of the announcements wasn't the best. Before Lotus triggered the £100,000 release clause to get Senna out of his Toleman contract, the Lotus PR department apparently didn't get the message and announced that Senna would be joining the team in 1985. Toleman was therefore pretty angry, and as a punishment suspended Senna from the 1984 Italian Grand Prix. I'm sure he didn't lose a lot of sleep over it though. There you have it, a look into some of the contract craziness that has happened in years gone by. Which is your favourite story? Let us know in the comment section below.